Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel, Whispers of Turkish Stars. All the details are in my video. If you enjoy it, I'd be thrilled if you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. You can support me even more by clicking join down below. Thank you, and let's dive in. For years, audiences in Turkey and across Spanish-speaking countries held their breath every time Erkan Merrick and Hazal Subasai appeared together. Their gaze, their timing, the way they filled the spaces between words. Everything felt like a promise. Their rise was a whirlwind, two people whose on-screen electricity spilled into real life, turning them into a phenomenon bigger than any one project. It felt like a modern fairy tale, one that unfolded under the bright lights and the hush of backstage corridors. But time, as always, did its work. They chose separate roads. The world moved on. And yet, something faint and persistent remained, like a thread you can't see but can't stop feeling. After years of careful distance, the calm was shattered by a startling phrase that echoed through countless phones and laptops. A short line, but heavy enough to bend the air around it. "Erkan, please, snap out of it." The words came from Hazal. They were whispered in a private setting, according to what leaked, but in seconds they traveled everywhere, igniting debates, timelines, and headlines. Those who witnessed the moment say her voice trembled when she spoke again, not as a celebrity, but as someone who once shared a life chapter with him. This isn't the Erkan I knew. Not the man who stood beside me back then. A single admission, soft and devastating, that cracked open a story many thought had long ended. The pain in that confession suggested that the distance was never absolute. After their split, they carried themselves with clear boundaries and professional respect. Their fans admired that. But there are feelings that don't dissolve with applause or interviews. There are memories that return uninvited, like the last note of a song you can't forget. And for the first time in a long while, you could sense the weight of what remained unsaid. Hazal, people say, didn't hold back when the topic turned to the buzz around Erkan's recent whirlwind romance, a relationship that has set social media and entertainment pages ablaze. There were red carpets and glossy photos, trips that looked like postcards, brand appearances, and magazine covers. It all pointed to a love story written in neon. But according to what emerged from that conversation, Hazal sees another script behind the spectacle. "Fame can feel like you're carrying the sky on your shoulders," she reportedly murmured. "And if the heart becomes a prop, it hollows you out." Some heard in those words a harsh judgment, others heard concern. Either way, the message was clear. She believes this high-profile romance reads more like a strategy than a sincere connection. Those close to her say Hazal's view of Erkan has always been grounded in how fiercely he guarded his craft. He was the guy who trained, who studied, who kept his pride in the simple act of doing the work well. And now, she worries, the noise around him is drowning the music he used to play so naturally. His career was always his compass, she told confidants, according to sources. But this looks like weather that threatens the needle. Words that cut, not out of malice but because they might be true, at least through her eyes. Then came the most tender part of the leak, her appeal to his family. Her voice, witnesses say, softened to a near whisper filled with gratitude and longing. "Your mother and father mean the world to me. I don't want them to hurt. No one loves you like they do. Erkan, hear them. They would never mislead you." In seconds, those lines breathed life into rumors that had been swirling for months. People in the know have insisted that the Merrick family never fully embraced the glamorous new romance. Some even claim to have heard blunt sentiments behind closed doors, a wary, "we never trusted her," repeated like a protective spell that failed to take hold. If the fire was already lit, Hazal's words were the wind. For some, her message sounded like the unguarded cry of someone still tethered by the past. For others, it was a fundamentally human act, the kind of concern that survives distance and endings, simply because certain attachments never fully loosen their grip. There is one point of agreement: the care in her voice didn't feel staged. It felt rooted and real. Those who followed the leak closely say Hazal didn't stop at criticism. She opened a door to another time, to the version of Erkan she swears is still there. "I watched him fall in love with life, with the work, with the small things," she said, according to the account. "He used to look at the world like it could still surprise him. That fire. I can't see it right now. And it breaks my heart to admit it. In that confession, all the years came rushing back: dawn rehearsals, cramped dressing rooms, shared jokes nobody else would understand. You can almost hear the echo of what they had, softened by time, sharpened by truth. The internet did what it always does. Theories multiplied. Some European entertainment pages suggested Erkan is facing a perfect storm of responsibilities, challenging projects, brand obligations, the constant weight of being on for an audience that expects him flawless every day. Others whispered about fatigue and emotional vulnerability, the kind you can't photograph but that bleeds into everything. And in the middle of this whirlwind, Erkan chose silence. No Instagram clarifications, no interview rebuttals, no midnight posts. Nothing. A silence that said more than any carefully worded press release could. Insiders claim that silence isn't empty. Friends apparently saw him retreat from the noise, wrestling with words spoken by someone who once knew how to read him without subtitles. Sleepless nights, long calls with trusted confidants, a shrinking circle, this is what we heard. Because time can turn people into strangers, yes, but a line from the past can still find its way through armor you thought was impenetrable. In the final part of the leak, Hazal's voice steadied. She didn't try to direct him, she didn't try to call back what had already floated away. Your path is yours, she reportedly said. I'm not here to steer you. But I recognize that light in your eyes better than anyone. Guard it. Don't let it dim. It was a message that refused to fit neatly into one box. It sounded like advice, a gentle warning, and the softest kind of goodbye, all at once. A lighthouse beam sweeping the sea, unsure if the ship will turn toward it, but refusing to go dark. And so a question stretches over all of this, the kind that makes even casual fans sit up. Did Hazal speak from affection? From the ache of old chapters finally bleeding through the margins? Or is this the stubborn residue of a love that never truly dissolved, no matter how many seasons passed? Opinions split in every direction. Some say this moment proves their bond was always unbreakable, regardless of distance. Others argue Hazal finally voiced the closure she needed, not to reopen a wound, but to let it breathe. The truth is simple and complicated at once. When their names appear side by side, an entire audience forgets to exhale. They were a story that defined a time, a chemistry that became its own language. Even apart, the resonance lingers. And now we wait. Will Erkan respond? Will he confront what many believe is his most personal crossroads? Or will the quiet hold, turning Hazal's words into something that fades without an echo? While comments stack up and feeds refresh by the second, those who know them say one more thing. They say Hazal didn't share those words to win him back, and not to score points. She spoke because she recognized a patterned noise masquerading as progress, optics posing as love. And she spoke because, whether we admit it or not, we all hope for the people we once loved to stay true to the best versions of themselves. Even if we're no longer in their story, we still want them to find their way. Meanwhile, the rumored romance keeps generating headlines. Photo ops continue, campaigns roll out. But now every image is read against the backdrop of her plea. Is this genuine love or a glossy collaboration that benefits everyone but the heart? Watchers have become detectives, scrutinizing expressions, body language, the timing of every public step. Some argue we project too much onto pictures. Others insist images reveal more than they conceal. And in a corner of this stage stands a woman who knew him once and can't pretend she didn't. What happens next may depend on something deeper than PR or backlash. Maybe it comes down to a quiet morning when Erkan looks at his own reflection and decides what story he wants to tell when the lights are off. Maybe he calls his parents and listens longer than usual. Maybe he remembers the early days, the ones with no cameras, no stylists, just a crowded set and a raw ambition that felt like destiny. Or maybe he stays where he is, trusting that this is a season, not a verdict. If the past has taught us anything, it's that endings can shift shape. The chapters we thought were closed can become footnotes to something else. People change. Dreams change. But the language we once spoke with someone we loved? That language can sleep for years and still wake up fluent. Perhaps that's why a single sentence from Hazal rattled the city. It spoke a dialect everyone recognized, even if they'd never lived it. So I ask you, my dear audience, did you hear tenderness or a warning in Hazal's voice? Do you think she still carries a flame for him, or is this compassion from a woman determined not to let silence become complicity? And what would you do if you were in Erkan's shoes, protect the image, or protect the spark? If you're still here, remember something important: subscribe to the Whispers of Turkish Stars channel, turn on notifications, and if you want to support us even more, tap join to help us keep bringing you the stories behind your favorite Turkish stars. Which celebrity should we explore next? Whose chapter would you like us to open on this channel? Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye.